So, good afternoon. Welcome to this second day of this cadence tutorial. Yesterday we covered some non-linear circuit analysis, especially two the two terminal devices like diodes. Now we'll start today the analysis of transistors. So we have a common source amplifier as shown in this slide. So what it does, it's if you want to understand it, we can take an example of the mic which I'm using right now. So our signal, AC signal, get amplified, and we can get an amplified version of our input. So how to set the gain, how to analyze this today we will cover. So similar to yesterday, we have our DC analysis. This signal is not in the picture, and you will have your output DC. And now then, what will happen if we have an AC signal? It boils down to a simple linearization of this. I will again say that you can refer the video lecture of Professor Shanti Pawan, who talks greatly that how this transistor is simplified to a linear circuit like this shown in the right. So these parameters GM, RO are all dependent on this operating point. The GM depends on VGS. So by playing parameters, we can set the gain. So gain of this amplifier is GM into R, which we'll see in this simulation, like how we can simulate and what are the ways in which we can find the gain of this amplifier using all the three approaches, using DC, AC, and transient. So we'll start. Now add a new sheet called cell view. So now we'll draw this schematic. Sorry. Library. We have this there. So the value of all this is taken as per the design. We can have a separate tutorial on like design of these amplifiers. So now we'll just go ahead. A DC source. DC source for supply. For wiring, we press W and then we can stretch also. We make it so. Now we'll add a transistor from UMC. We are taking this N1, it's like 1.8 volt transistors NMOS. For now, I will just put the length of one. You can copy also using C. Done. Check and save. No errors. We open AD and have our first DC analysis. Now, if we annotate the DC voltages, we can see like 500 millivolt is the gate, and we'll label this VD. So based on this VGS of 500 millivolt, a current is flowing, and due to that we see a drop here. So now if we see in this small signal our of this common source, we have the elements like GM and RO. So these all are calculated based on the operating point, and we see like how we can uh, see like what is the GM, what is the RO, what is the operating point of this transistor. We can go to tools, sorry, results, annotate. If we click on DC operating point, we'll get these three options like what is the current, what is the VGS, and what is the VDS. And if you want some more parameters, there is one option called print. If you go to result, print, and DC operating point, then you need to click on the transistor. So these are all those parameters which some of them which are like what is the GM? It is 27.67 micro. So it is calculated something like this based on VGS. Similarly, the RO is represented by R out. It is 3.29 mega ohms. Region is 2. So this region represents the like what is the region like 2 is for saturation, 1 is for linear, 3 is for cutoff, sorry, 3 is for sub threshold, 4 is for breakdown, and 0 is for cutoff. So these regions are there. So if we want to use this as an amplifier, we generally keep in saturation and it should be in region 2. That is where design comes, like how we select those parameters. And this is the VTH, the threshold voltage of this transistor. So these are the operating points. Based on this, the we can we get the gain. Now, uh, fine. The gain is just GM into R parallel R out. Now, but from simulation, we will try to find out using all three. Now, using DC, we will find out. For that, we need to sweep the DC. So what we will do is we will just replace this by VGS. We will add a variable, check and save. Now the variable copy from cell view. Now the VGS for now we have kept 0.5. There is an option of sweep. Design variable we can sweep from suppose 0.1 volts to Let's assume 1.2. So what it will do, it's something similar to parametric. You can see like for different VGS, it was simulated. And now we'll plot the output. We'll go to tools, results, direct plot, main form. We have DC voltage, we'll add out to output. Now we click on this thing. So you can see this something inverter like DC response. So here is when the VGS is very small, the transistor is in cutoff. So you can see that when VGS is very small, the transistor is in cutoff and no current will flow. So this VD is equal to VDD. As we increase the VGS, the transistor turn on and some current start flowing. This VD will drop because of the drop across this resistor. So this is the graph we achieve, and here it enters into linear region. So now, if we apply any AC signal, so what will be the gain of that? How this AC signal will get amplified? So we need to, as we can see that the gain is in this region. Like even for small change in VGS, we will see a large change in this VD, the output voltage. So we can get gain here. We cannot get gain here because even with any change in VGS, the output is not changing. So what we will do from the DC characteristic, we can calculate the gain by just differentiating this graph. So what we'll do, we'll send it to calculator and we'll find the deriv function and then send it to the ADE. This sends to our output. Now if we plot this graph, so this is your output and this is your derivative. You can see like we have biased at zero 0.5. We just click on the graph, press V. So if we go around, if we keep at 0.5, okay, we can let it be. So it's around 11. The gain is 11 point something. So what with this graph, we get one more information like if we increase the VGS, we can achieve more better gain. So this was one way to find the gain of the amplifier. We'll see the other two approaches. Now we'll see using AC. So what will be the gain? We have, we'll go to AC, we'll select magnitude output and so it's 0 because we left the AC magnitude is not given. And for now, we can use AC and I will use V sign. I will replace that symbol because we are also interested in seeing the transient response. So we'll put AC magnitude 1. We can see this was replaced. So this is 12. So if we come near zero 0.5, it will be around 12. The gain is 12. So this is one approach. This just calculates the AC response. This is GM into R. And as the frequency increases, we see fall in gain. Why? Because there are parasitics capacitors here or the CDS, CGS. Because of that also, uh, the gain will fall, because now at higher frequency the capacitor shunts the node. So this was two. Now the third approach, using the transient. For transient we'll apply suppose 1 millivolt and 1 kilohertz. Again we will go and add transient response. First we'll run, then only we can add to the output. Reverse, direct plot, transient. So this is our sine wave. So around where is it? So this is 788 is this node DC, and on that DC there is a sine wave of this amplitude. So what amplitude we applied? We applied was 1 millivolt peak. So 2 millivolt peak to peak. Just click, press M, and then press D. You'll get a difference. So it's around 11 point something, nearly 12. If we just properly put those values, we'll get much accurately. Or we can send this to calculator and just add peak to peak. And then we need to use by 2, because not by 2, by 2 milli. If you want to find gain, so our output is whatever output we are getting divided by whatever peak to peak input we have applied. We'll send this and run this simulation again. So that is 11.95. So this is the peak to peak. So around 12 volt we get from all these three approaches. So all the three has its own advantages. One helps in optimization, like what optimal position of VGS we use for the particular bias, and this is small signal and transient. So that's it for MOS analysis. Now we'll come to our next topic, which is PVT variations. So we will do PVT variation on this common source circuit. Now there is a term called, we'll come across, which is called process variations. So why it is important? To understand it, let's take an analogy. Like suppose if you make tea, chai, for 100 times if you make tea, so this, even if you put exactly same amount of sugar, 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoon, the sweetness will vary from, it will have a band of sweetness. Like it sometimes will be slightly less, sometimes it will be slightly more. Similarly, when we make transistors, using, as you all know that transistors are made, the process is like we take a silicon, we dope it with n-type material, and then we anneal it. It is a process of heating. Then only that n-type materials get activated. So not all n-type material get activated. Only those dopants which kick out, say, silicon, gets activated, and that it contributes to the mobility. So if we have so what I want to say is, if you make transistor 1,000 times or 1 lakh times, different time, so every time it may be like it will have a lower limit and it will have a higher limit based on uh, the process of annealing and how many gets activated. So in this term there is, we call it slow to those transistors which are at lower limit of mobility. As you can see in this, ID is half mu n. So mu n can be lower, mu n can be in two ranges. One is the lower limit and higher limit. This is done experimentally in fab, that many runs transistors are made, and we get these numbers, the lower limit and higher limit of the mobility. So the lower limit of n type is called slow, and lower limit of mobility is called fast. High mobility means fast, low mobility means slow, and T is for typical, the thing which we design for. So, so this is for N type. Similarly, you will have for P type, mu P. So it is a completely different way of making p-type transistor. We need a p-type material called boron or gallium, and we just dope it and anneal it. Similarly, you will have the range of slow mu p and fast mu p. So in that case, total we have 5 cases, what we call 5 corners, transistor corners. One is TT, SS, FF, SNFP, FNSP. TT means both the transistors mobilities are in typical. SS means both are at lower limit, slow, fast. SNFP, slow NMOS, fast PMOS. FNSP, fast NMOS and slow PMOS. So whenever we design a circuit, we don't know that after fabrication which corner our circuit is. So these are 5 extreme cases. 4 extreme, one is in typical. So the transistor can be anywhere in between. So for any designing a practical circuit, we always do this type of simulation to make sure that after fabrication, even if it is in any corner, we get the same, we get the our desired performance. So we need to sometimes over design to achieve a performance in all corner. Also, if whatever resistor or capacitor we use, so we'll have this typical min max options are there. Typical is like whatever resistance. Even resistors are made using something similar process. We dope, there are n type resistors are there, so we dope it to just play with the resistance. And similarly for capacitors. So while designing anything on chip, in IC design, we take care of all these variations, what we call process variations. So we are doing PVT analysis of variations we will simulate. So this is process. Next is supply variation. Like if you design a circuit, like take example of common source at 1.8, and after fabrication, how we'll apply this VDD, this supply. So we'll use a regulator. So every regulator, if you see data sheet of any regulator, it's not always that 1.8. There are some errors or it will be near. So a good approach is to simulate for 10% variation of VDD. Means means like if your supply is at 1.8, you will simulate at 1.8, 1.62 and 1.98, so that you achieve a good performance across. So your all design will be considering this supply variation. Now there is the third one, the operating temperature. This is fully dependent on the application. If you see, like if you go and select an IC from any website like Texas Instruments, TI.com, you will see that they will say that they have an option like what for what application you want, whether you want for military, automotive, industrial. So based on this, your circuit should work and this range. Suppose if you're designing something for industrial application, minus 20 to 85, because some instrument or some process in which uh, the temperature can go much below the ambient temperature. So based on this information, we should take care, like when we do simulations, we consider all this temperature. And even suppose we design it and we test it at 27 room temperature, but if that IC is supposed to used in some in Africa where the temperature is very high, suppose in some European country where temperature is very low. So it totally depends for what application you are designing. Based on that, you will do temperature sweep. So now how this temperature is affecting our transistors. So if you see like mobility and VTH, these two parameters are there which are temperature dependent. For details, you can refer any good solid state circuits uh, book, solid state devices, which gives the relation. So if you increase the temperature, what will be the how will the mobility will change? If we increase the temperature, we'll add more variation. The random variation will increase, and the mobility will decrease. Similarly, VTH will increase, and in process variation, it's not only the mobility, also VTH varies with process. I forgot to mention that time. So now whatever circuit we design, we need to take care like all this process, voltage and temperature. So, so if you see the combinations, if you have a single resistor and corner, you will have 5 process variations and 3. 15 cases are there into 3, 45, and temperature. So there will be hundreds of simulations you need to do. So you cannot sit and just tweak it 100 times. So there is one provision in uh, Virtuoso which we'll use, and we'll see like how we'll do all this process corner simulation. So for that, the first thing we should do is we'll go to session and we'll save the state, because we need to simulate the same circuit and set up many times. I will give the name CS. Now we'll go and launch ADE ADXL. Create new. Okay. So what it has done, it has taken the test from our saved ADXL environment, and now we have all global option is there. So we missed one thing. For supply variation, we need to add a variable called VDD. We'll run it. One point. So now it will save again. Overwrite. So easy ways to, you don't save it and close, or you can update it. We launch again. So you will have now your VDD parameters. Here you will add our corner setup. Actually we did by clicking on right click, and then you need to select add corner, or control N is a shortcut. Let me give this a name of PV for process variation. So now where are those informations where we can change our parameters like TTSS, SS? So all these parameters are available in model files. If you see the ADE setup, there is one model libraries. So when we attack the models, these are models for each and every component which the foundry provides. So if you want to use BJT, you need to this model files gives the information. If you have the capacitors, you have this information. BPW is a transistor type. This is for resistor. This is for transistors, low VT. And what transistor we have used, the model is there in Reg 18 version 124. So if we change this TT to some other parameter, it will simulate. So a simple way is to add the model files and import from test. Press OK. So all the models files are added. Since our circuit is very small, we don't have all the components. For now, it's okay to delete Now you can add, you can see FF, SNFP, these are alphabetically arranged, that's why. So now if we check this, so we have 5 corners. We'll press OK. And now we need to run it. So what it will do, the same transistor is simulated 5 times with different uh, process, FF, FNSP, and we'll see that these information we can see here. Now you can see the gain variation from transient. The gain is varying from 8 to 13. So this helps a lot. Even if you do 1,000 simulation based on your, if you have a very large big circuit, different corners are there. Just seeing the min max, you can find out what is the reason. There is also one option called specs, like we can set, if we are 1,000 corners and if you go and manually check 1,000, it's not a good idea. It will take a lot of time. For that we can set a spec, like suppose you are interested in your it should be, all your specs should be less than, I would say like greater than 10. If I set something like this and run the simulation, you can see this green color means that our specs has been met. This red means it's not met, and this pass and fail is there. Since it's a small, only 5 corners we have tried. Even if we have a very huge, even 1,000 corners are there, just this min max and this fail pass can provide us the information like where it has failed. We can check manually each and every corner. So this was process variation, and now we will do. Now we have other or voltage variations. So I will name it like VV. So we need to take the design VDD, and what are the 3 corners? 1.8, 1.98, 1.62. So this there. So what I will do now, I will only simulate for voltage. How this works. So it makes really the simulation very easy to perform, and you can quickly find out like which corner something is not working. Go in that corner and debug. Here you can see pass. So what it means that even with supply variations, you can achieve your design will work for supply variations. So one thing is this has run for TT. So uh, let's do it again for temperature variation. I will add one more corner. This will for temperature. Let's take minus 40, 0, 27 room temperature, and 125. Now we see like how the performance of this variation of temperature. And you can see like these are the numbers, but there are graphs available here. Where we find out the gain, AC magnitude, and transient. We can see this graphs from here. Like if you click on plot all, so these are the graphs. Like how peak to peak temperature, what variation we saw. This is for like how the DC characteristic is changing. This is the AC character. This is our transient response. So based on these graphs also we can infer a lot of information. So now we'll try to combine all this, and this is the thing which we all whenever we finalize our design, before finalizing our design we just check all this. So how to add those all corners. So now we are interested in one We will write PVP. So what we'll do, we'll select all this. So you can see now we have total 60 cases for which we need to check. So since we have only one transistor, if we have other components, different components, our resistor is ideal. We can use a real resistor also, then our corner will increase. Now we are doing it the exact PVT. If you see now, this corner means when your voltage is 1.8 and FF, fast NMOS, and at a very high temperature, your circuit won't work, even in this corner. So the good approach of design is when you see that in some corner it is not working, you can get back to it and just try to find out. So what does that mean, FF? FF means what? Fast corners means the mobility is very high. At this same time, VT is low. So ID current has increased a lot. So what does that means if the current has increased? If current has increased a lot, this VD has come down and this transistor has gone in out of saturation. So in that case, you need to figure out like what gain, what if you want to take care in that corner, you need to see like you can do one thing, you can reduce the value of R, or you can increase the VDS, means you can add more room so that even if the current increases, this transistor doesn't go into, doesn't come out from saturation. These are the things you can infer if you know that exactly how things varies, if how process variation varies, even for temperature also, which are the parameters which are moving with temperature. So now if you see FF125, it's not working. Even with FF room temperature, it's not working. FNSP. See, we don't have PMOS here. So this FN and FF are almost the same. FNSP. Yellow means it's slightly, it has failed, but it is very near. So this is exactly the PVT analysis. Before sending any chip, we need to see. So you can add more specs. The specs are added from here, so that it's not like that you always need greater than something. If you want to simulate noise, you always want your noise to be lower than some value. In that case, you will put lower limit. In some cases, you need some range, that your parameter should always be in this range. Tolerance is also there, min max. So these parameters we can play with, and we need to see the graphs, like how it appears. So these are the variations. This is the DC response, the gain. You can see the gain variation. There is one card option. You can just see one. Click on this plus V. So these are the variations of gain which you are seeing. AC, peak to peak. So you can plot using calculator function. You can plot We have not done the noise analysis, but you can do all. So, so these all we have run this for PVT, and if you want to see your previous results, it is also available, which you can see. So it's like it's very handy. You can save all this information. You can save this. You can save this setup. Then you later import or export this full Excel sheet. You can import. So since we have time, we can do some noise analysis also. So for noise, we'll go to our ADA, then we'll select noise. For noise, we need to specify the frequency, because noise is always with respect to, you will find that with respect to frequency. And now we need to select like um, output node. We need to select where we need to find the noise. We need to select VD, and the other will be, since it's a single ended circuit, we will have ground. If it is a differential, we'll select the positive and negative. Then where is the input source? So we need to select this source. This is our input source. So that's it. Fine. Now we'll run the noise simulation. So we'll go to direct plot main form. We have this option noise. So what will be the output spectrum we can plot? So this is the noise. So we will move to a new window. You can see that it is falling at 1 over f, then it's getting flat. The flat part is our thermal noise, and this curved path is our flicker noise. So when you will study about noise in CMOS analog, hopefully chapter 9, so there you will cover like what are the parameters in design you need to play with to reduce this part of the noise. What are the parameters you need to play with to reduce this part of the noise. Since your resistor, if you see this, yeah, resistors has only thermal noise, and for your transistor you will have both thermal and flicker. So we can exactly find out what is the contribution of each component of thermal and flicker. So yesterday we talked about result browser. At that time, here we don't have that option to separate, because whenever we plot noise, we don't get an option like to separate the flicker and thermal noise. But if you go to the result browser, there they are already separated. What it does, this AD, it combines it and just gives the output. So now we'll go to the result browser and go to the noise. We are interested in finding the noise of M0. So this is the flicker noise, and this is the thermal noise, because it decreases by 1 by f. And what we'll do is we can change the axis to log. You can see that here the flicker noise and the thermal noise intersects. This is called corner frequency. What is so these terms you will come across where the flicker noise and thermal noise becomes equal. The corner frequency, here the corner frequency is around, yeah, around 1 megahertz. So you need to see, similarly if we go in resistors, you will have only thermal noise. You can see this is the noise of your resistor, this is your noise of your transistor thermal noise, and this is your flicker noise. If you want to optimize your circuit for low noise, which parameter do you need to play? The answer is simple, like if you reduce the higher components, it will be better. Otherwise, these noise are RMS square. You sum it and you find it the root mean square, which you'll learn later. But these are the ways in which we can isolate each component. There is also one way, there is option like result print noise summary. There you can find the spot noise, what it does, at what frequency you want noise. But we are mainly interested, whenever design a circuit, we are interested in integrated noise because our circuit has a limited bandwidth. Suppose I will be using from 1.1 hertz. 0.1 hertz means the lower limit, means my experiment or whatever instrument or whatever circuit I'm using, the time constant will be 10 hertz, inverse of zero point 0.1. If I want to, my observation time is high, so I need to use a higher frequency. Suppose it depends on application. Let's keep it 10 kilohertz. Include all. B3V3 is the noise of the MOSFETs, and I will add 10. It's like what component you need to display. So you can see Fn is flicker noise. The dominant noise is flicker. It contributes 99.75 in this region. If I take from 1, even then, because our flicker noise is very high, so our how to reduce the flicker noise, you will study like it depends on W by L. So just by playing with W by L, you can reduce the flicker noise without affecting the performance. I will show this. So what will happen if I just make it 5? I'm changing W by L both by, I'm increasing by 5 times. So effectively the current is constant. See, I have increased the W and L both by 5 times. So the current will be same. Only I will get better noise performance. These are the small tricks which we do to reduce the noise. So again, we'll go to print noise summary. So earlier, the first time our summarized input referred noise was around 2 nanovolts. Now our noise is much smaller because now the thermal noise has contribution. So our flicker noise has reduced a lot. So we can, this is noise power, it is in square. If you find it here, it is in RMS value of noise. It's about 8.5 micro 8.5 microvolt RMS. So how these numbers are important? Like now you know that if we have a bandwidth of interest of, so if you, let's take an example of audio, our audio amplifier. So what is the range of our audio? 20 to 20 kilohertz. In that range, what is the effective noise? It's around 8 microamps. 8 microvolts RMS noise is there for our audio amplification. If you want to use this amplifier for audio amplification, what does that means? It means that input referred noise means that this, due to this system, the noise, whatever signal was there, with that there is a noise of 8 microvolt RMS. So there is a good rule of thumb that you should be 10 times of your your signal should be more than 10 times your noise. So SNR of 10 is a good number. Otherwise, you cannot figure out what is noise and what is your signal. So if you use this amplifier for measuring ECG from body electrocardiogram, so what is the minimum voltage electrocardiogram signal? If you see that the minimum potential is around 100 microvolts. So if it is 100 microvolts, your noise should be much less than, so 10 microvolts. So these numbers are fine for our electrocardiogram example, for ECG measurement. So this noise design of an amplifier, particular application, we should be very clear for which application we are designing our circuit. Based on that, we see that what we need to optimize. Sometimes noise is a higher priority, sometimes gain is a higher priority, sometimes bandwidth is higher priority, sometimes swing is our higher priority. If you read Razavi's book, there is an octagon, uh, which we call analog octagon. There is an always a trade-off, but something which is there, which based on that we design. So that's it for today's tutorial. Tomorrow we'll see like design of our inverter, then how we laid out those inverters in IC, then calculate the parasitic extraction, so that what will happen after design, after the chip is after chip is fabricated. There are models for everything like contact, metal tracing. We'll see tomorrow. That's it. Thank you.